Jenny's layout caught my attention and stood out in a sea of posts in a Facebook group where people share their layouts all the time. And it caught my attention because her kitchen had some unique features that I would consider big no-nos. Specifically, her kitchen triangle looked more like a flagpole. In this post, I'm going to discuss the specific major issues that I found with her layout, and I'm also going to suggest a complete reworking of her entire main living area floor plan, all driven by that initial change to fix her kitchen layout. That was the big thing that caught my attention first. I think the end result is amazing, and it's certainly going to be a loved home by this family, and I think any of us would want to live there. Check it out. I get so much joy out of finding people with layouts that are just not so great and working with them directly one-on-one to change their overall design and improve the flow of their homes. In this case, Jenny didn't recruit me or even ask for help. I just found her and insisted that I interject myself to help her out. I just couldn't let her build this home as it was. I'm going to flip over now to share my screen with you because you'll be able to envision things a little better. So here's the first image I saw. Jenny was actually asking about the stairs and whether they should be more open or closed. What I saw was the kitchen and how the cooktop was on the other side of the kitchen from the fridge and sink, completely blocked by the island on an interior wall. I needed to see the full plan to confirm my fears. When she sent it to me, it was just as I figured. I just couldn't leave it as is. Her triangle, and therefore her entire kitchen and home layout, was completely dysfunctional. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and now I have a thorough review of the full living space and a pretty great recommendation of what to do instead, complete with the strategy and thinking behind every one of my suggestions. So here is the original plan that she sent. She sent me this one in the background, and then what I've done is just overlaid a SketchUp file on top so that I could play with this and edit it around. So that's what you're seeing now. So you're seeing her original floor plan with an editable portions. This is just the living area on the top. So this is what I decided to redo. So this is the original plan. Here is what I liked about it. Apart from being just a great size, because this is a really, really large living area. So that's a great thing to start with, is just that it's a large space. So additionally, it had this great big window over top of the kitchen sink. This is a 7-foot span, actually. So that's a really lovely size to have it over a window. I see a lot of houses with little rinky-dink 3-foot windows, and that just does not let in a lot of light. The other thing is a huge pantry. This space over here is all a big pantry, which is amazing. There's going to be tons of storage in there. There's going to be lots of natural light coming through from this other window here. That should be filled in. I'm not sure what that is. But this was another window, another secondary window in the kitchen itself. So that's great. There's space for a big island here with lots of seating. So that's really exciting. And the kitchen's in the middle of the L. I mean, this L kind of juts off a little bit here, but basically it's still an L shape and the kitchen's in the middle, which means it's accessible to both the living and the dining areas on either side of the L. So that's always a really, really good shape rather than having all 3 items in a row. So it's not really a massive list that I really liked. The floor plan came without any furniture in it, so it didn't have that to consult on or to give my 2 cents on. But so anyway, it's a short list of things that I like. There is certainly more that I would change than I would keep, and so. But remember, this is all I'm talking about in the scope of this is these 3 living areas. So that was the things I like. Here's the things I don't like about the current layout. So first, the necessary kitchen triangle doesn't exist because it's blocked by the island. Any obstruction more than 12 inches into the space means that it's no longer a triangle. So when we've got these lines here, our triangle goes between our cooktop and our fridge and our sink. But you know what? This isn't a triangle because unless you're a bird, because we cannot fly through the island. So there is no triangle here, which is really unfortunate because it is actually a really important component of kitchen design. And we will talk about this more later. The next element is that the cooktop is in the wrong location. Apart from not having the triangle, we should never have a cooktop on an interior wall whenever possible, or sometimes it works if you're in a bungalow, but this layout has stairs, so we know we have a second floor above here somewhere. So this cooktop now has to go through, if it was going to be vented out the ceiling through the roof, through 2 different floors, which is just not ideal to have that on an interior wall. The this cooktop is also just sort of out in the open. If you look at where the main traffic flow is going to be, come in through the front door, come through here and walk right past it to get into this room and the family room. And then this is also where you get access to this bedroom through this family room, and then the access to these bedrooms are through this little doorway into this little hallway nook and into these bathrooms here. So this is going to be a heavily trafficked area. You never want to have a cooktop that's exposed to this much traffic. Imagine you accidentally, while you're cooking, leave a handle out and somebody's walking past, not paying attention, not knowing that you're cooking. They put a hand down, they knock the handle. Disaster. You never want to have a cooktop out in an unprotected area like this. It'd be very dangerous. The next thing I don't like is that there's not enough space to sit at the island comfortably to have people walk behind you, because there's this other workstation here. So if someone's standing here, that's going to be very tight, and then someone's on a bench sitting here, there's literally not enough room for a person to pass. Next, the oven is kind of far away from the cooktop. This is the oven here. I think it was a double oven as spec'd on the sheet, but even if it's a single wall oven, the point is it's a little bit far away. And even though it's not so much about the steps, it's about the fact that you have to, again, cross through this main heavy traffic area to get to this oven from here. People are walking through here, and imagine you're coming over. If you want to put something from your stove into your oven that you've just been cooking on here and you want to finish it in the oven, you've got to walk through this potentially very busy thoroughfare, which is, again, dangerous when we're carrying something super hot. The fridge is very far from whatever this is going to be in here. So this distance is really far. You have to walk all the way around the island. So if you're sitting here and you want a drink of something, you have to go way over here to get something out of the fridge, which is just really far to walk. There's no space on here for a beverage center, so that is an alternative if you want to have the fridge sort of far and close to one room, is to have some sort of other beverage center that's closer for drinks for guests. Number 6, on the plan, there is some mention of a bench under here, so I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. If it's a lower seating area at this window, if they're thinking that it would actually be lower than countertop height, then that is a huge no-no, because you don't want people coming in here to hang out in your little protected zone. This right here is the most protected part of the kitchen. So the last thing you want is having other people who aren't actually involved in the prep coming back here to just sort of hang out with you. That is a no-no. You want them all on the other side of an island where they can't reach you back here, physically or emotionally. These corner upper cabinets, whoever thought that these were a good idea? You can never reach things in the back here, so this is just a complete waste of space and totally useless. Never do corner cabinets up in the top. In the bottom, it's okay because you can have special things to get stuff out, but never. No, just no. The current living area, so this right now is labeled as the living room, and it really doesn't have a great layout for seating. I guess you'd have to center things on this wall and make this wall a focal point because this is the front door in. So it makes things a little bit cramped in here to have people walking in the front door right here. Not a great layout for having your living room. I know some people disagree with this point and they prefer to have a nice view when they walk into your home. I do not like having a living room with a main entry here. I don't like the idea of having sort of my lazy zone where I want to be able to relax in my sweatpants and watch TV or play with my kids in their jammies. I don't like that being right at the front door, so that anyone, who shows up to try and sell me something is going to look in and be able to see my kids in their jammies. Just don't like that. I like living areas at the back of the house. I also suggest always and prefer that the living room area be the one that is closest to the kitchen. So in this case, we've got this one here, which is sort of right adjacent, and if someone's in the kitchen here, this is a closer one and sort of more direct. This room over here is just that little slightly bit more removed because you've got this wall coming here and the stairs and this piece here. So this is a smaller little piece of entryway access, and so this is just a further distance. So I always prefer to have the living room closer to the kitchen versus the dining room. If I had to pick one to be further away, it would be the dining room. Next, the hidden pantry doors. I assume these are supposed to be hidden in the sense of they're supposed to look like cabinet doors, but this isn't really going to work that well. I guess it's all right since this is, I think, supposed to be a full depth other pantry cabinet, maybe for glasses, but over here, since this is supposed to be counter space, you just have to build this out in order for this to look like a full depth thing. And when these open, if someone is right here, you're gonna hit them. So I just don't love this idea that we have to hide our pantry Just be bold with it. If you want a door to close it off, that's one thing, but you don't have to hide the fact that it is a pantry. So those are the things that I don't like. It's a bit of a list, but it's definitely all fixable. And here is what I would do. So there's a few major things that I would do, and I'm going to show that to you right now. There we go. This is our new layout, what I would actually propose we do for this space. And again, we're just talking about the living areas. I will go through room by room and explain the changes and why they make sense and what they are actually, because a lot of these things are, well, nothing's labeled in here. So I'll go through and explain what everything is in just a second. So the first thing I would do is actually swap out the living and the dining room. Oh, we're missing the living room furniture. There's layout number 1. We'll get to that in a second. So I would actually swap the 2 rooms. So originally this was marked as the living room and originally this was the dining room, and I want them to be the other way around. So I want this to be the dining room. And the reason is most people spend less time in the dining room overall. So it makes sense to keep the lesser used space at the front of the house. The front room is typically in this case, is less connected to the kitchen thanks to the stairs. We already talked about that. So that makes this a sort of more of an ideal spot for the dining room versus this is a little bit closer. So it's whoever's cooking is in the kitchen here is going to be within earshot of the people just hanging out in here. This is a much better connection than having this kitchen over here with the living room. The front view. So typically, this is a covered porch down here, that much we can see. I don't know what the view is gonna be like here versus in the back where we also have a covered patio. But typically, people build their houses so that they can have a greater view out the back of their house. If there's gonna be a view on the property, it's probably gonna be from the back. So the front view just typically is not as good, which is why it's ideal for dining. When you're eating, you want the view and the focus to be the other people at the table. You don't need the beautiful view that only half of the people would be able to see. If it was over here, if the table went this way, then only half of the people would be able to see the view and the other half would have their back to it. But having it this way means that actually this table in its current orientation means that 9 out of 10 people can see whatever view there is, but it's probably not an amazing right home about view anyway, so it's a better spot for a living room where you're paying attention to each other and you're not really missing out on the view. Next, the living room, in my view, should always be the most connected to the kitchen and the back patio. So when you're in the living room, that's when you want that connection to the exterior and the view. It's when you're lounging. It's all the time that you're just hanging out and not sitting down to a specific meal that doesn't last very long. But you just typically, most people don't spend as much time eating. So if there's going to be one area where you want to hang out and have that connection to the patio, it's going to be your living room. And this way you can position your furniture such that the view this way out here is the primary focal point, which is a really nice feature. The improved kitchen layout actually makes serving easier because I've moved the fridge closer to the new dining room. So now it's here. So this is actually really, really convenient. But I've also changed this because the cooktop is no longer here. And I've changed this into some sort of miscellaneous combination depending on what Jenny and her family need it to be. But I envision this being a coffee bar, an actual bar. It could have beverage centers and ice makers, special wine cellar, or whatever she wants this space to be. It's actually a really good size, say 8.5 feet long. So there's a lot of space there that she could use to create whatever she wants. And I've got this little sink here because otherwise it's a long way from here all the way through here to the sink, and you don't want people walking through your protected zone. So you would expect people to come around here if they wanted more water, and that is just a bit of a pain, especially when dinner's on. So this way you can have direct access to water right here. So this is really going to serve the dining room, and you could put all your special glassware and everything in this cabinet. The other thing is that in this covered patio out here, Jenny's probably going to put a dining area. So in the summer, it makes sense to be able to come out here to prep all your food and just nip right out here into the covered patio. The last thing that you need is for guests to be hanging out over here where there's not a lot of outdoor access. When you're sitting inside, and then to have to walk through here to eat outside and then potentially come back here. This is not a good transition, and it doesn't make sense to have a dining room here and then another dining room here just back to back when all summer you want to be hanging out outside as much as possible. So making this a living room makes a little more sense, especially for the summer season, but even when it's winter, it's great because you can still enjoy the view and all of the natural light that's going to come in here. Next, based on where the stairs are here, this is where you'd walk up from this way, it's better to have the dining room here for all of the noise transfer. I'm going to talk about this a little later in the video, but just generally, unless you're in Europe, most people are not sitting around their dining tables when their kitties are trying to fall asleep. They're not doing that as much as they are sitting around the living room, either having great conversation with friends or each other or watching louder movies. So if you had to pick between the two spaces to have next to your stairs, where there's a greater likelihood that sound is going to transfer upstairs to people sleeping, then you definitely want to have your dining area there because it just makes more sense. People usually talk a little bit quieter when they're eating. And then once they're done eating, they do need to be quiet, you can just move them back over there for, dessert in another room or whatever it is. But you can't watch movies in a dining room just to avoid the noise transfer, but you can eat in the living room if you need to. That same logic also applies to the primary bedroom, which is over here on this side. If we go back to the current layout here, you can see here that there's a door right here directly into the primary bedroom suite, which is just not ideal. Rather, if people were watching, you've got older kids, teenagers, and they want to stay up a little late and watch a movie here and you want to go to bed or even just have a nap, to have just a single door here and have all that noise go right into your bedroom, just not ideal. Let's move on to the kitchen and I'm going to explain exactly what I have done here. So let's zoom in so that you can see this. So the overall footprint and the layout of the kitchen was amazing to start with. So that's why this layout shift was both easy and really overall quite minimal. I know it looks quite different, but I didn't have to move walls or take over any other areas, and all the rooms are very generous and beautiful. The biggest changes I made were really to do with rearranging the appliances in the kitchen so that Jenny could enjoy a little tight and protected work triangle. I'm going to talk a lot about this and describe way more as I do in my online course, which is called Renovation Planning Academy. And I talk about that a lot in the course because I really don't want you to make mistakes like the original version of this layout had. So here's what I did in the kitchen. First of all, I reduced the footprint a little bit of the kitchen. So originally the fridge was sticking way out over here, like an additional 3 feet. So this is probably 3 feet about to there. So yeah, somewhere about here is where the original kitchen was coming out to. And it was just, for this to be a living room next to it, that kitchen was sticking out too far. And it didn't need to be. It was excessive and it was actually causing more problems than having a kitchen that's too big is not actually a good thing. So I reduced the footprint and that was really easy to do, especially since this pantry in here is so big, it's really convenient. I didn't change the size of the pantry at all or the shape, but I did change the entrance of that. So it's, I think this flow works a little better. This dotted line here suggests that this would be either, I don't think it needs to be a beam, but it would be open to the top. And then we can actually put in, if they want to, a pocket door. If they want this to be closed, then we could put in a little pocket door here to go all the way across so that if they do want to close off the pantry, if guests are coming and the kitchen's a disaster, they want to just throw stuff in there and hide it, then they can totally do that. But if not, then they can just leave that open for more convenient cooking day to day. I moved the range over here to the exterior wall so that it can be easily and directly vented outside. And now too, right, it's in the middle of the kitchen work triangle, which is amazing. Let's take a little look at that. Let's draw in our triangle. So we've got sort of from the middle of the sink to the middle of the stove, fridge, and then to the middle of the stove. We've got a nice triangle there. Nothing is being blocked off. You can easily walk past and it's all very close together, which is great. That's exactly what you want in a kitchen triangle. So since the stove cooktop is right in the middle of the triangle, it is the most protected from anyone wandering into the space. So most non-cooks only ever need access to the fridge or the sink when they need to wander into your spaces. And so it's always best to keep those on the outer edges of your layout triangle whenever possible. We already discussed about why it was bad having the cooktop here. So this way it is way in the back and it's protected from random people walking in. We touched on this briefly, but this area over here will be an amazing wet bar, coffee bar area, ice maker. You can put your kettle, a popcorn machine, whatever it is that you want over here in your kitchen, whatever small appliances or stations that you think are important that are going to serve both your living room and your dining room. You could do some of those really cool fold away doors so that it could be open for the most part when you're using it, and then you could easily close it off when guests come over if you want to hide all of your messy small appliances or coffee cups or whatever it is you have out. But it's a great resource to have that's part of your kitchen, but not part of the main cook area. So it's fine for people to hang out and conglomerate over here, as well as because it's behind the stools. And so it's easy for people to move out of the way. There's nothing dangerous here that are going to get people into trouble. The other thing I wanted to mention about the pantry is that I've included this big window here, and having it open like this and having it sort of open at all times, like having one solid countertop going all the way through, means that all this natural light can be shared, and it'll make the kitchen feel really, really big, even though this is technically part of the pantry. So you can come back here and hide and do whatever you need to do with you put your toaster back here or your microwave, but it's going to feel like one big space, even though functionally when you're in the middle of cooking, everything is right here in your triangle. So I think this is a really great move for this particular kitchen and the layout that it has. Obviously remove those corner cabinets because they're useless. And now we've got just this one little small cabinet here that's only half deep, but that's standard, 12 inches deep. And this can sit on the countertop and then go full height, so that you're actually going to be able to store a lot in here, as well as you can put drawers under here and put all of your flatware and your tableware and glasses, whatever you need to store in here. There's actually a lot of room, especially you've got a 10-foot island here, and this whole front piece can be covered in drawers as needed. So you can fit everything in here really, really well. One really important thing that I did is I reduced the depth of the island. So the original one was 48 deep. And, if you've got the space for 48 inches, great, but you really don't need it. What 48 inches allows you to do is to have your full set of 24-inch deep standard cabinets like this, and then another set on the other side that's accessible from this side of your island. And what people do is put just a 12-inch deep set of cabinets on this side for more storage if you need it. So in a smaller kitchen or one without a pantry, that can be really helpful for those things that you don't need often, if it's a Christmas platter or something, but you want to have access to randomly, that you're so random that you're willing to only move these stools out of the way for the few times of the year that you need it. But in this case, we have got this massive pantry here. We're not stuck for storage. So Jenny doesn't need that extra bank of cabinets under there. It's not serving her. And also there's no sink in this island, which is amazing because I hate sinks in islands. They're really not the most functional use of space. And so there's no risk of splashes or anything. So 36 inches of depth is actually plenty for an island, because you're getting the full width, full depth, regular standard cabinets, and then you've got a full 12 or 11 basically inches of space underneath here for people to sit and tuck their chairs right under. So that's a really, really functional island. It does not need to be deeper than that. And what it did is it freed up more space here for this walkway. So now we've got 4.5 feet for this walkway, which is ample, because you always want really 4 feet if you've got stools here, in order for people to not have to, sort of edge past or change direction or get awkwardly shaped for them to walk past. And then also you could have someone standing here still, and then maybe you'll need to squeeze past if someone's sitting here and standing here. But there is enough space now, versus if this island had been deeper, then there would not have been ample space for that to happen. It wouldn't have worked. So now it does work. I also changed the sink location. I moved it over here. As I mentioned, you want the sink and the fridge to be sort of on the outer edges of your triangle, so that if someone does need to get some water or whatever it is, they want to wash something up or be useful in the kitchen, then they can come over here on the outer edges, and they're not going to be involved in your cooking process. I also swapped the dishwasher because you want your dirty dishes to be closer to your stovetop, so that things can go directly over here. If there's any spills when you're transferring a pot of water to dump out in the sink to strain your pasta, if there's any drips, you always want that over the dirty stuff rather than your clean stuff. So you want to keep your clean stuff. This is a drying rack over here. You want to keep that sort of far away from all your cooking zone, as far away out of the kitchen as possible, away from your triangle. This is where you're going to stack dirty dishes to go into the dishwasher. So that's why it's on this side. And typically this is going to be the main primary prep station right here. This zone, this half of the island is going to be the main zone. So it's right behind you for just anytime you're done with a dish, you stick it over there. It can either go in the sink to be washed or right in the dishwasher. So that's a really, really handy little section too. It's its own little triangle really between these three elements. So before we move on to talk about the dining room, I'm gonna scooch over here and I'm going to show you my little very quick 3D rendering of the kitchen so that you can just see what it sort of looks like. This is really rough. Now, I just really want to preface this by saying this is rough. All that you can see, there's not really any of the cabinetry sizes or drawers mapped out. There's no finishes on the wall. There's just a rough countertop there just to show, a potential option. But this is just a really rough look at how this layout might come to be, just to give you a feel for the space. So again, this is just a blob right now, just a big old blob. This could be your station. It could have a coffee bar. I would definitely suggest having at least some of this, if not all of it, be open countertop. And again, doors could close over top of it or not, depending on what it is, but I would like to see a sink in there and whatever else, either small beverage fridges or you can get full height ones. It really depends on Jenny's preferences. There's her double ovens. You've got your fridge here. So this is a really tight little triangle, and this main prep station is going to be perfect for whoever is cooking to be hanging out with guests sitting here, snacking, eating breakfast, whatever. And you can see how this would just be right open into that pantry, and this is where you could easily have your microwave, your toaster oven, your blender, whatever it is that you want to have. You want to tuck away all those small appliances and hide them. This is the perfect layout. So it's really open and beautiful. So it looks like a huge kitchen if you're sitting in the living room, but you can hide a lot of stuff behind this wall. This is a really big sink here. This is taking up the full 4 feet, but of course, this is a matter of preference, how you want to work out your sink, but a nice massive window there, another window over here, and then of course we've got our window here in the pantry to light that whole area. So if you were a homeowner, this is somewhat what you would see if you were here. Let's just walk around here. Let's walk. Let's look. Here I am cooking. Oh, let's take some dishes out of there. And we're in the pantry. Let's go out of here. Oh, let's get something out of the fridge. We're right there. And there we're cooking. And we're on our island. Oh, look, there's my kid eating their cereal. Isn't that convenient? There's a dining room in there. And living room. Okay, I hope that was helpful. So let's go back to our plan here, where we can see everything. And let's zoom in on the dining room plan, because this has changed quite a bit from its old state as a living room. I've added some things here, so let's talk about that. This new dining room is perfectly sized for a gorgeous 8-foot table. It has the ideal clearance of 4 feet on all of the sides, which is just amazing. That's what you want. We talked about that before, about having people able to walk past without having to shimmy or get out of the way. No chairs have to be pushed in order for someone to walk out to get to the bathroom. This is a really ample space, to the point where you could, if you needed to on Christmas, put in a leaf extended in this table and add, another 2 feet to this table, probably on either end if you were desperate. And it could go from an 8-foot table to a 12-foot table very, very easily, and it would all fit, which is amazing. So you might notice here that I've added this new wall here where there was no wall before, and there is very good reasoning for that. So first things first, this wall here down at the bottom creates a nice little entryway nook. So all of a sudden you could put here either you could make this a little bench and have some coat hooks above it on the wall for easy hanging of coats. Or what I would do is have either a small shelf or probably a little console table here, put a lamp, a mirror above it on this wall. And this makes it so easy for guests when they come in to just put their phone down, because they've been holding it in their hand. They can take off their coat, they can check themselves in the mirror, make sure they didn't get super wind blown on the way from the car. Shoes can be tucked underneath here or go right into the closet. And all of a sudden this feels intentional. It feels like an entryway. It feels like you're supposed to walk in here and you didn't just accidentally interrupt a dinner party, because that's how it would feel if you didn't have anything here to identify this as an entryway. So this is a really great way to give the entryway just its own little separate pocket and provide some privacy. So if a stranger does come to your door, this is what they're going to see, just the mirror and the table, the closet door, nothing else. So I think that's a really, really cool thing. This wall also provides utility to the dining area on this side. So before it was a bit of an awkward space because the stairs came up this way and then actually came up this way. And so there would have been this, not a bulkhead, but like you would have seen the stairs and you know, to the point where you couldn't stand all the way underneath it. So it was a bit of a dead space under there. Especially because I don't believe that this home has a basement. So you would just be able to see directly under the stairs, which is fine. But again, it's kind of wasted space and it's not great. It's not doing anything. It's not working for this home. It's not working against it, but it's not working for it. So by putting this wall up here, I've added some utility here because you can now put furniture in front of it. If you had a hutch or some sort of, a servery or something like that, where you could put some storage underneath and you could have a little surface to put a wine bottle or extra bread or whatever it is that you want, you can actually put this here now. And you've got now a wall, so that if you want to put up some extra artwork, you could do that. And then also it provides an extra doorway barrier into this primary bedroom suite. So because I mentioned you never want to be able to look right into a primary bedroom. I don't like that. Personally, I like to have a little barrier. So this way you could have a double door situation so that, if you do need to nip into your bedroom here, you can go in, you can close this door, then you can go in here. And so you're maintaining that privacy barrier. And also if your kids are up here late playing board games at this table and you want to go to bed, then this extra wall is going to be extra barrier for sound, which I think you would really appreciate. So that is why I've built this extra wall here. And as a third benefit, now you can have storage here. You can make this whole area under the stairs, the entire thing. I mean, it's quite short and awkward, especially down at this end, but this whole thing can now be storage. Amazing storage for big bulky items. You want to put your stand-up paddleboard or extra Costco toilet paper or whatever it is in here. You've got this storage space that was previously completely untapped, and now you can make great use out of it. So I think that's a really, really good use of space there. So you've got privacy, you've got this entryway nook, and this space is just perfectly suited for an 8-foot table, which is actually really large and amazing. So this is a great room for entertaining now. And now we can go over and take a look at our living room. Now let's see, did we need to go and look at our dining room in the 3D plan? I don't think I have much here. No, but we'll just take a little look-see at it. Ignore all these lines on the stairs. Just SketchUp being a little silly and I didn't have the time to fix it. So you can see here how it would kind of all look when you walk in the front door now. You've got this nice little area that feels intentional. So you can put coats away and actually have a little table and a mirror, and then you walk into the dining room and you can see this beautiful little hint of the kitchen with that huge big window, the beautiful stools, lovely cooktop, and backsplash, whatever it is that you want to do in there. So you've got a hint of that. You just see the beautiful dining room. You can have a really lovely feature table and then double entry to get into that bedroom suite. So if that door is closed, you're having the maximum amount of sound protection and visual protection that you can have into your bedroom, which I think is lovely. Okay, so let's go back over and look at our living room. Now, since I didn't ask Jenny about her priorities for her living room inclusions and activities, I don't know what she might have been thinking. Is the living room supposed to be a TV area or just a space for guests or, reading? This is the critical question only she can answer. And of course I didn't ask because that wasn't the purpose of this. In addition, the original layout, there is this very wide entryway over here into this area, which is it's labeled as a family room. So again, I don't know, was that family room intended to be where the TV gets watched? Or is it supposed to be a play area for little kids that are, so we really don't know. Is it supposed to be used for guests? We don't know what it's supposed to be for, but there's the family room. So I've provided 2 different options for layouts in here based on a couple of different options for her priorities, but this has really got to be left open until she identifies what she wants this space to be. So option 1 is we could leave this open as it is so that the kids can play in the family room. And let's assume that the main TV will go actually in the family room. So this living room is really just for conversation, reading, guests to hang out. It's more of a social area, maybe games. So the great thing about this is that you can make this huge opening over here, make this a big accordion door or windows or whatever it is. I would love to see it as a big accordion or bifolding doors or sliders or something like that, so it can be completely open to that covered patio. And that way, this room, the focal point would be this amazing view. You could have all of your furniture situated so that it looks out. This is just a couple of little ottoman-y poofy things for extra seating if you needed them, but really I would not put anything in here that inhibits the view. Point everything that way. I think it would be amazing if she screened in this exterior porch, and that way you could have these doors open all summer and you'd have no bugs in the house, and it would be just fantastic. You'd have such incredible flow between the spaces. In this layout, the view is the priority, so the furniture is placed so that people could gather around and just enjoy the light and the beautiful view from the outside. Option 2 is this sort of a layout, which is a little bit different. This living area is supposed to be the TV zone, or if Jenny just wants sort of a different focal point than just having the view, here is another option. So I would still do this massive door out to the back. I would do that regardless of whatever layout gets done in here, because I think that's an amazing feature to have that open to that covered patio. I just think it's fabulous. What a bonus. And then in this circumstance, we would shift the orientation away from the view, not so that it's totally blocked off, but so that its main focus is over here. So this would allow her to have, say, a fireplace or built-ins or a TV, or maybe it's just a library or, bookcases, whatever this, she could just do whatever she wants here. But this would allow this thing to be the focal point in the room. Now, in order to accomplish that, we'd have to build out this wall a little bit and have a smaller opening. But I actually think that this is still 5 feet, which is really, really large. And you could put even a sliding barn door, so that a really big oversized door attached on this side, and it could slide along here and cover it up when needed. But otherwise, I feel like this would be left open a lot of the time, and so having that be really, really wide would be a really lovely feature. So there's still great connectivity into this other room, but this allows you to have some sort of focal point. And this is still really large. Let's not be worried about that. We're still looking at 9.5 feet long. So that is more than enough space to comfortably fit some furniture. And if the furniture comes a little bit further down here, that's fine, because you've still got all this walkway. So this is just a secondary option for a living room layout. So the point of this, having these two options, is just to really show that this space is so versatile. So it really comes down to Jenny's preferences, as always, for what she does here. But I just love the connection between this outdoor patio here and the living room and the kitchen, and how, you can easily be cooking here and go right out here, no matter which layout we choose, out into that covered patio. And just having this big room triangle in the summer is just fantastic. So I'm really excited about that. Now, the funny thing about Jenny's story here is that she didn't ask me or anyone really about her kitchen layout at all. It was only something I noticed because she originally asked about the stairs. She asked if it should be open or closed. So I just wanted to touch on that. I love an open staircase because I think stair design has come a long way in the past few years, and we can have really beautiful stairs that are a real feature of a space in and of themselves. So as an added benefit, staircases that are open to the adjacent rooms, they don't block the flow of light from other areas or upstairs, into the lower level. And, they can themselves be lit by natural light. If there's a window up top, then you don't need extra lights in that space or sun tunnels or anything. So it just makes the stairs and the other rooms feel much more open and luxurious. Detailed finishing, right? Because if this is just a wall, you're looking at a few studs and some drywall, it means the stairs that you get don't have to be finished on that side. So it's really easy to just put in stair treads that you only have to cut on the sides. You don't have to finish one side of it nicely, right? You just have to finish this, the fronts, and that's it. And you can have a staircase come together really, really quickly. And then of course, when this is a wall, then you don't need an extra guard. So, typically you would have maybe glass or metal spindles or something like that. That's where you're going to see a lot more expense as well versus just drywall. So the only other consideration is regarding sound and the separation. So if you're worried about the sound traveling from, the dining room in this case up into whatever is on this second floor, if people are sleeping up there, then, sound reduction is obviously greatly diminished if this is closed off, but it's not going to stop everything. So, and actually having just this top half protected is already contributing to the noise reduction. So, that's always an option too, is just having part of it open and then part of it closed to stop noise transfer a little bit. So you just need to ask yourself, is it necessary? How old are your kids? They, typically kids sleep through a lot once they're asleep. So it really just depends on if it's necessary to close it off or if you'd rather keep it open as a lovely feature. So those are the changes that I would make to Jenny's living area. I hope you found this video interesting and useful and informative for your own renovation or new build. Getting the layout perfectly right takes a lot of time and it takes strategic thought. And, homeowners can do this themselves. They do have the skills to do this. What I just showed you here is not terribly complicated. You can learn how to use SketchUp really, really quickly and then spend the time going through this process of just drawing rectangles in order to figure out the right layout. I have an online course. It's called Renovation Planning Academy, and the doors are opening soon for enrollment. So if this is something that you want to spend time on, if this is something that you want to get right for your home and avoid mistakes like Jenny was going to make on her home layout, if you want to avoid having your cooktop in the middle of the walkway in traffic, then Renovation Planning Academy is going to be an amazing resource for you because it gives you step-by-step instructions and teaches you everything you need to know about layouts, about finishes, so that you can make better decisions for your home. So if you want to get some info on that, you can look at the link, which I will put below this video, but it is also barncatreno.com/RPA for Renovation Planning Academy. So hop over there, join the waitlist. Now is your chance and get in on this next round of intake, which is very exciting. Alternatively, you can go and watch my free masterclass, which is available right now if you go to barncatreno.com/webinar. So barncatreno.com/webinar, and you can watch. I have a free masterclass on there. It's all about renovation planning, and there is a special offer through that masterclass, which gets presented after, and that is how you can join Renovation Planning Academy right now, which is amazing. And there's also a amazing bonus in there that gives you a free layout review. So this whole process that I just went through in this video, you get one of those for free. And that is a lot of value because let me tell you, this takes a long time. It takes me a lot of hours it took me to put this together for you guys. So anyway, so there's extreme value that you will get if you join Renovation Planning Academy. So I really hope that you do go check out that link if you go to barncatreno.com/webinar. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and I will see you next week.